Thank you all for coming on such short notices. We want to clarify that there will be some new changes to our groups.
No problem, Rio, and thank you for letting us know that we were going to have our first meeting this week.
So anyways, what's that you want to discuss with us about?
Well, we're very glad to ask, but are you guys aware that some of the people, including a few of our closest friends, have lost interest in some of the heroic groups, especially ours, even though our group is mid, which is their own opinion?
No, we're not aware of that. But hang on, what makes you guys think that our group is mid? Didn't we do something that is wrong?
No, Lily, it's not that. The reason why that our group is mid is because that most of us in our group are kept using our powers way too much ever since our enemies, the black magic of death, have keep causing so much trouble by targeting those victims, and especially when the black magic of death keeps doing a lot of bad stuff as well. So that's why we brought you guys here to our meeting to make changes to our groups for the better.
So let me get this straight. So you were telling us that most of us kept using our powers way too much just to attack our enemies, the black magic of death, from causing so much trouble, and especially that some of the people think that our group is mid? How come you didn't tell us that if we're gonna make any changes to our group?
Well, Justin, we're about to tell you and the rest of you guys at first, but ever since we had our conversation with Sean and his group right before we got banned in Sean's server on Discord recently, we realized that most of us kept using our powers way too much just to attack our enemies, the black magic of death, like Akira said, and we're not the only ones have kept using our powers way too much. Even our friends Jaden and his gang had also kept using their own powers way too much as well, and yes, this is exactly why our group is mid to begin with.
I see. If our group is mid, does that mean that we're gonna fix and change everything for the better?
As a matter of fact, Justin, yes. Things need to be changed from the better since Sean has already spoken the truth from other heroic groups, including ours, that is only meant for constructive criticism, cause not only that we're toning down our powers for a long time, but we're also gonna try some new ideas, which are Gundams, dragons, blasters, and etc. In addition to that, we're also going to improve our content since we need to put a lot more effort in our video projects since everyone needs to enjoy it, especially that we're using common sense, although we already have common sense as always. But still, we must have come to our senses so that way we can make our community better.
But hold on, I have a question. Why would Sean have this idea in the first place to make this as constructive criticism?
What do you mean by that?
What I meant to say is that the way when Sean and his gang have been discussing the downfalls about so-called other heroic groups which are very mid and whatnot, especially the part when they lost interest on other heroic groups, including ours, and even forcing his fans to lost interest on most of the heroic groups as well. But don't you guys think they've went a little too far from this?
Well, we wouldn't even say that, but normally I know it may considered that as opinion bashing though, but to add insult and injury, Sean was only stating his opinion on why the heroic groups needs to be changed for the better since he and his group along with his fans have lost interest on most of the heroic groups, including ours, that it needs to improve without using our powers. You see, this is actually the reason why the community has also become a downfall because of that. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it since Sean has already made good points about that after we got banned from Sean's server a few minutes after when Rio had already taken it back from what he said to Sean in his comment.
Honestly, Maria, I know that I already take it back from what I said to Sean in my comments a few minutes later after we got banned in his server, all because I was trying to make some other changes to inspired of my own anime shows, but he just constantly screenshotted in his community post by claiming that we're mainstreamers when we're not, and plus, I already left the Viand mainstream community a few weeks ago since I have to move away from the drama and becoming independent trustworthy user to make a better content to my channel. And no, I'm not complaining about it. I might have to live with that from now on until we show everyone that we can improve, that we can be better heroes and show a lot of remorse to take accountability for it.
You know, something weird is going on with the constant change that has been happening this year in the community. I mean, why can't the users make changes on their own instead of when Sean and his gang is forcing everyone to make changes to their own heroic groups? This isn't fair. It's bad enough that I have to deal with Waldwick for eliminating my daughter Cynthia in Season 6 since almost 3 years ago, and especially that he declined Cynthia from coming back in Season 10, which is 2 years ago. Man, this community was a complete disaster.
Look, Luna, I know it's hard for everyone to make changes from their own heroic groups to their channels, but from what Rio said it was true. You need to realize that things have to change since Sean was only trying to help out with other people to improve their own content for the better. Yes, forcing people to lose interest in other heroic groups is one thing, but toning it down the powers is the only way that we can fix this.
President Shigeko is right, Luna. You need to understand that not every year is the same in this community, but handling the changes will not hurt as much as you think. Besides, both Death and Sean had more common sense than other people, even though we all had common sense as equal. Trust me, if most of us are kept using our powers so many times 24/7, then we will end up being Mary Sue's at this rate. You wouldn't want that, do you?
Well, I guess you're right. Maybe I went a little too harsh from what I said earlier, especially that I went a little too far from what I did for over the past 2 or 3 years ago. Perhaps that changes wouldn't even hurt as much as you all think, so I guess I might have to go easy on everything we do. And Rio, I want to apologize for the harsh things I did over the past 2 or 3 years ago. I know what I've been doing is wrong, but I really regretted all the stuff that could easily broke their own spirit. I hope you'll forgive me.
It's okay, Vice President Luna, I forgive you, and plus, I think it's best to go easy on other people since lashing out is not a better idea to do, that could easily break their own spirit in the near future. By the way, Luna, I think you should let your son Ryutaro and his crew know that things are gonna change since we all need to tone down the superpowers, especially laying off with the mass assault plots on other troublemakers as well, despite when they already moved to Goldenrod City. So would you do that after the meeting is over?
Yes, I'll let Ryutaro and the others know about this after our meeting is over, despite when they already left Katakana City and moved to another city called Goldenrod City a while back. So, I'll do that.
So, what are we going to do ever since things are gonna change from the better while we tone down our powers that we have?
Well, Wong, since things are gonna change from the start of this year and next year, we'll tell our whole crew to announce about something that needs to make some new adjustments regarding the superpowers that we have in our lives. So, in a couple days, we'll start attending our first class in the first session of our training, and then after that, we'll be starting to build our own restaurants, which is called Katakana City Ramen Shop, since not only that we can be heroes in our lives, but we can also be the workers at our own ramen shop in Katakana City, so that way we can get paid our own minimum wage. In addition to that, instead of using our powers constantly, we have to use our fighting skills, weapons, dragons, Gundams, and many more stuff that we can use for our own enemies. So that's all the things that we are planning to do for this year. So, are there any other questions that you want to ask before we wrap things up?
Actually, me, Chief Reiner, and Justin also have another question to ask. About the powers you mentioned, does this mean I will not use my healing powers as well? I mean, what will happen if some people get really injured every time when the black magic of death keeps on tormenting those victims?
Yeah, and not to mention that, what weapons are we gonna use when the black magic of death members are starting chaos in the town of Katakana City?
That's a good question. Lily, we want to let you know that it doesn't require of stopping your healing powers. Since you're becoming a doctor and a nurse, you can still use your healing powers as long as when people are getting critically injured by the black magic of death. And as for you, Chief Rainer, since you're the chief of the Blazing Fiery Thunderfighter, you and the general will hire some new armies, commanders, and operators since we need a lot more people to protect our own mansion. And especially that we have to use our tanks whenever we defeat those monstrosity, the black magic of death, whenever they keep causing chaos in this city. Therefore, we will use that instead of using our powers whenever the time is right. So, do you get that when I'm saying?
Yes, I get the message, and I promise that me and the general will hire some new armies, commanders, and operators since all the things that we need for our improvements. So, we're in.
Hey, wait a minute. What about me?
Huh? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Justin, since you're only transforming yourself into the Hulk, you might also tone down the transformation as well, cause many people are concerned about you transforming into the Hulk on a daily basis, mainly on your videos in your own channel precisely. Now look, I'm not trying to upset you or anything like that, it's just that everyone in the community wants you and us to tone down the powers and transformation for once in a lifetime. It wouldn't be that bad, but trust me, it's for the best, since Sean and his fanbase have made good points about it. So, do you understand?
Yes, I understand, and you were right, having our superpowers and transformation in general often is too much to handle. Perhaps I might have to control my anger since I get angry too much over having game show contestants cheating over $1 million, even though I left the brain search community last year ago, cause it's getting old news nowadays. So, I'll try my best to tone down the transformation, including your guys' powers since we don't want to become Mary Sue's in the process.
That's good to hear that, Justin. Hopefully you'll get the hang of this.
I have one more question to ask. When do we start our training classes?
Well, Vivian, like I said earlier, we'll start our training classes in a couple days, since we all need to gather everyone in our first lesson in the classrooms. However, it's not just for everyone in one classroom, we're only gonna split into groups, cause we're supposed to have 200 people to join us in our group. There will be at least 10 classrooms or more in total, whichever way we can fit more people there. From there, after we're done having this discussion, we'll let the others know about it if we're gonna have some new adjustments. Therefore, things will have to change for the better without having problems.
Oh, I see. I guess that makes a lot more perfect sense. Perhaps having those changes will not be as bad as you all guys think. So, I'm always prepared for this.
Excellent. Now this is settled, it looks like our meeting discussion is finally over. You guys are now dismissed.
Thank you so much, Rio, for chatting with us in our meeting. We could have done without you five. Hopefully we will start training those guys how to fight like a real fighter in general, so we can get the chance to succeed in our way of life.
Anytime, Master, anytime.
That's strange. I wonder what is Rio taking so long to get here. I mean, it's been over 10 minutes since he didn't show up to our class.
Well, maybe he's probably using the bathroom since he might have had a stomach ache recently. But who knows?
I don't know, Rio. Maybe he's still on the call with Jaden about something for a change for the better after he had a meeting with Maria, Akira, Rita, Hui, and others a couple days ago. But I'm sure he's going to be okay.
Oh, I'm sure he will be.
Hey guys, sorry that I took so long, because I'm on the phone call with Jaden about the changes that something needs to be toning it down with him and his gang's powers. So, welcome to your first session of your training.
Oh hey Rio, I'm so glad that you're okay. We've been waiting for over 10 minutes, and never showed up teaching our first class session.
I know, but anyway guys, like I said before, welcome to our first class session for this year's lesson. For this first session for today, there will be some new changes regarding the powers that we have been using a lot in the past since the black magic of death keeps causing a lot of trouble in Katakana City. So are there any questions for these new changes?
I have a question actually. What is the reason why we have to make changes to our groups? I'm just curious.
Well, Kagome, I'm glad you asked. So, the reason why that we have to make changes is because ever since Sean and his gang had this discussion in the downfalls about some of the heroic groups that they already just mentioned, that it needs to be toned down and improved, and what I mean by that is that most of us have been using our powers way too much just to attack our own enemies, the black magic of death, from causing so much trouble, which almost become as Mary Sue's in the process. So that's why we need some new changes and improvements for the better.
But hold on. What exactly do you mean by if we're gonna make some new changes to our groups, especially most of us that we've been using our powers way too much? Was it something wrong that most of the people in the community have been concerned about it?
Surprisingly, yes, most of the people having some complaints and lost interest in our heroic groups kept using our powers way too much just to attack our enemies, the black magic of death, without the black magic of death to fight back themselves. Not only that, some people think that we went a little bit too far by attacking our enemies with the black magic of death constantly just to rescue the victims, and to make matters worse, we haven't shown any of our own backstories just for the people that we know about how we become a blazing fiery thunder fighter in the first place.
But wait, if we are no longer gonna use our powers like you said, what are we supposed to do without our powers? Should we use our weapons or something? I mean, wouldn't that include not using my magic wand or something like this?
But what about my singing? I'm not allowed to use it as well? I mean, I do have great singing abilities to beat our own enemies since a few of them have their weaknesses.
Well, it seems very impossible to say, but since Makita only has her own magic wand, and no, it doesn't include the magic one since magic wands and staffs are part of the weapons, just so you guys know. And as for you, Hazel, no, you can still sing, and especially dancing since you only have a microphone yourself. So you're good to go.
Oh, thanks for your compliment, Ryo. You know something, Ryo? Instead of that, we are not allowed to use our powers in general. How about that we can use our weapons to combine our powers, so that way people will think it would make a lot more sense, since we do have our ways of using it. Think about it this way, if people said that we were no longer using our powers at all, and then using our weapons like blasters or something like this, would you guys consider that? Well, it's not just that we can use our weapons ourselves, but we can still use our powers, but combining inside our own weapons. Trust me, it will work this way when everyone in the community has to understand this.
But what if it doesn't work in our regards?
I'm sure it will work. Believe me, everyone in the community will know if it's a great idea to use our weapons to combine our superpowers.
You know, Lemon, maybe Bailey has a point. I mean, having our weapons to combine our superpowers wasn't as bad as they think. I'm sure they'll understand.
是的，我第二。
Same here.
Me too.
Even though I'm a fashion model, I agree.
As much as do a lot of cooking, so yeah, I agree as well.
Even especially that I've been making a lot of desserts, sweets and treats, so yeah, I agree on that part.
Same here as well.
Well then, since Bailey has already made good points about something regarding that our powers that we're not using, but I guess we can still use our own superpowers, but this time, we'll use our own weapons to combine our superpowers to make it very easier, so maybe that way, whenever there's chaos in Katakana City, we'll just have to use it in our own hands. So who agrees with that?
I am for sure.
Me too.
Me 3.
Me 4.
Me 5.
Me 6.
Me 7.
Me 8.
Me 9.
Me 10.
Me 11.
Me 12.
Me 13.
Me 14.
Me 15.
Me 16.
我17。
And me 18.
Excellent. We'll start creating our own weapons whenever the time is right. But for now, since today is our first class session, I'm gonna start writing on the list on the whiteboard to know what are the plans that we're gonna have for this change. So let's begin, shall we? Now, for the first lesson in training, here is the list that I'll be writing on for today. So, number 1, you guys will be doing assignments on your backstories on how you became a blazing fiery thunder fighter. Number 2, everyone will be doing a lot of training exercises. I know some of you guys are gonna be doing other busy things like cooking and baking a lot, but I'll discuss that in a minute. Number 3, all of us will be creating our own weapons to combine our superpowers in order to attack our own enemies, the black magic of death, from causing so much trouble. Number 4, we're going to be doing some fighting skills and technique in our training, but this time, with Master Ching, since he has in his own dojo, and especially in our own gym, such as Kung Fu, Karate, Kendo, Boxing, Wrestling, and many more combat skill techniques that we're all gonna do. Number 5, after your backstory assignments are finished, we will be practicing our presentation, since we need to show everyone in the community what our true backstory is, so that way we can learn some new things without doing the same repetitive stuff in general. And finally, number 6, the best and the best of all time, we are planning to open up our own restaurant called Katakana City Ramen Shop. Yep, you guys heard me right, not only are we gonna be heroes though, but we're also gonna have jobs as well since we have to make our money from our minimum wage. So yeah, that's all the list that we are planning for our changes this year. So, are there any questions on the list that I just wrote on?
I have a quick question to ask, about the Katakana City Ramen shop that we are planning to open up. Do you think we might consider selling other Asian cuisines besides ramen? I mean, not trying to change the subject, But what if we can open up a better Asian restaurant other than a Katakana City ramen shop restaurant? It seems very easy to me.
What exactly do you mean by that?
What I mean very easy, is that ever since you like all Asian cuisine, including ramen noodles that you like on a daily basis, right? Perhaps we can come up with an Asian restaurant name that we can think of.
But what Asian restaurant names that you can think of?
How about we can open up the ryuuonsuke Asian cuisine buffet restaurant? All you can eat is ramen and sushi. That might be a better one for our own restaurant that we can open up.
You know, this gives me a great idea, Brianna, since you came up with the better restaurant. So, yeah, I think this might be a great opportunity to adjust a new better restaurant called ryuuonsuke Asian Cuisine. All you can eat is ramen and sushi. I'll rewrite that on the list. Alright, since I rewrote that on the list, which is on number 6, so ryuuonsuke Asian Cuisine it is. Now, are there any more questions before we wrap things up?
I have another question. When do we start doing those assignments?
Well, Kagome, we'll be doing some assignments starting tomorrow morning since today is the first day of our class session for our training, so for right now, I'm only gonna be writing down on the list on the whiteboard for our plans for this year. Any other questions? Okay, good. Class dismissed, everyone. So yeah, about the Katakana City ramen shop that I just mentioned when we had this meeting a couple days ago, I decided to adjust our own restaurant called the ryuuonsuke Asian Cuisine Buffet instead, since Brianna had a brilliant idea to come up with our own restaurant name. So yeah, that's why I've been thinking about this when we had our first class session for our training.
Oh, I see, but out of curiosity, what makes you think that you're adjusting the change of our own restaurant called ryuuonsuke Asian Cuisine Buffet instead of Katakana City Ramen Shop? I mean, you like ramen noodles, right?
Well, of course I like ramen noodles, John Jay, since I always had those for lunch every day, and especially all these years back when I was a child. And to answer your question, the reason why I have to adjust the change of our own restaurant called ryuuonsuke Asian Cuisine Buffet is because ever since Brianna is a top great chef and a great cook in Katakana City, she decided to come up with a new plan that we're about to build our own restaurant called ryuuonsuke Asian Cuisine Buffet so that way it can make it very easier that requires all you can eat is ramen and sushi, including all the Asian cuisines in our menus. So that's the reason why we're adjusting to this new plan for our own restaurant.
Interesting. Even though I made a post about when you're becoming a manager in Katakana City Ramen Shop since last year ago, but I guess it's your choice to come up with your own restaurant called ryuuonsuke Asian Cuisine Buffet.
Yep, that's what we were planning to do at some point earlier in the beginning of 2025, so that way we can make our life easier in the future.
So Rio, how was the first day of teaching class session training so far?
Oh, it was great, Maria, just teaching those guys the 6 steps that I wrote on the list that we're gonna make some changes regarding our superpowers that we had in general. But the good news is that Bailey has told me and everyone that instead of toning it down our superpowers, we can still use our superpower in order to combine in our weapons like blasters, bow and arrows, or things like that, so that way it can make things a lot easier.
Oh, I see. So Bailey had this idea that we're still gonna use our own powers in order to combine inside our own weapons, so it can only make things a lot more easier? Well, I think that's a great idea for Bailey since she had a great point about it.
You know, I was thinking the same way as well. So yeah, I totally can conquer that to you as well, Maria.
So Maria, how was your class session training going on so far?
It was going great as well, Rio. Just teaching those guys how to become a better fighter and a warrior. That's all.
Oh, I see. I guess you're doing the same thing as I am. How about you, Akira, Hui, and Rita? How was your first training class session doing so far?
It was very awesome, Rio. I started teaching those guys how to train like a fighter in boxing as basics. In addition to that, we began to exercise our own strength muscles while we trained like a fighter in boxing. So that's the things that I usually do.
As for myself, I have also been teaching those guys how to use our superpowers to combine into our weapons in order to make things a lot more easier in our hands.
And finally, as for me, my teaching was doing great. since I've been teaching those guys how to use their own defense from their own fighting skills whenever the villains are starting to fight back in their own heads. Furthermore, I usually write down the list on the whiteboard that we are planning to do in the future like you said before. So yeah, that's all the things that I've been doing.
Interesting. I know a couple of you guys did the same thing as you do, but I guess I can live with that. But at least you guys are doing a great job teaching for our first session training.
Oh, thanks for the compliment, Rio. We really appreciated it.
Speaking of which, I bet trying some new things won't be as bad as using my own transformation as the Hulk. I have to step up my game whenever I have the chance to become a better fighter like boxing, although boxing is my favorite sport, but I also like baseball as well, which is my second favorite sport of all time. I can't wait to have the opportunity when we have those changes in this community right before when 2025 comes.
Oh, I'm sure it will do a lot better since we're all gonna make things right with ourselves in the community, although it might be difficult for everyone that changes come in handy, but whenever it takes time to make amends with other people who have gone through for so many years in their own lives. But even still, we'll just have to try to make things a lot better in the community.
Perfect. Let's hope we can make this great again, and never give hope in our own lives.
Yeah, totally.
Since you guys are finishing up teaching your own class session, I wonder what we should do afterwards.
Well, Lily, since it's already the afternoon, I think we should go out on a restaurant to eat something at the Sunrise Hibachi House for lunch today, since we haven't eaten anything for a while, especially we haven't been to this Sunrise Hibachi House over the past year ago. So guys, what do we say that we're gonna get some lunch?
You know what? I guess that's a great idea. I haven't been to this Sunrise Hibachi House for quite a while. So yeah, I'm interested in going.
Same here, President Shigeko.
I have one question to ask before we leave. What is the Sunrise Hibachi House?
Well, John J., to answer to your question, Sunrise Hibachi House is also another Japanese restaurant that has a lot Japanese cuisine that has a lot of sushi, chicken teriyaki with white rice and vegetables, sashimi, and many more Japanese cuisine that they already sell in the Sunrise Hibachi House. For instance, ever since me and Rio have went there for the first time since last year in October along with Cyber, Sapphire, Trayvon, Taylor, and Carly, that we invited them for our dinner night until things went pretty wrong that we're about to order our food in the menu.
Interesting. But out of curiosity, what exactly do you mean it went pretty wrong? You didn't get the chance to order food or something on the menu?
It's kind of a long story short, but right before we order our food at the Sunrise Hibachi House, the few vile troublemakers, the black magic of death, came out of nowhere and then break into the Sunrise Hibachi House until Blaze blasted Trayvon with his fire power and then kidnapped Taylor, which made our night ruin, all thanks to them.
Not only that, but we skipped our dinner night all thanks to the black magic of death that they ruined for us. Me, Maria, Cyber, Sapphire, Trayvon, and Carly have to rescue Taylor from the black magic of death to stop torturing Taylor for no reason. Thankfully, Taylor is still alive from getting injured by the black magic of death, and then after on the run, we have to take Taylor to Cyber's mansion HQ to give her some treatment in her wounds to heal her up the pain that Taylor has been going through. So yeah, that's basically the true story.
Oh my, that's insane. I can't believe that the few vile troublemakers, the black magic of death, have the nerve to try to torture and kill Taylor Haven for no reason, all because she used to cause trouble back then. Damn. That was messed up. But I'm so glad that Taylor is okay from the pain that she's been going through after you guys saved her.
Yep, we sure did.
But anyway guys, I think that's enough talking for today. So, are you guys interested in going to the Sunrise Hibachi House for lunch today?
I am for sure.
Me too.
Me 3.
Me 4.
I'm also coming along with you guys as well.
Same here.
Me too.
Me 3.
Me 4.
Me 5.
And me 6.
All right, now that everyone is ready to go out and get something to eat at the Sunrise Hibachi House, let's head outside and walk to the Sunrise Hibachi House. It's only 15 minutes away from our mansion HQ. Now come on everyone, let's go.
Right with you, Maria.